Prof, how are you?
I'm all right. Surviving in the northern part of the country, specifically in Tamale.
Well, let's start first with your view on Alan Kyerematen's decision to go independent. Was it something you thought was going to happen? Was it inevitable for you?
That question, in terms of political science and politics, these sort of things, the usual stuff of party politics or politics in general, the competition between the political class for power, internal wrangling or factionalism within political parties, something that my colleague at KNUST, Professor Bob Miller, has written about in the political landscape of Ghana. He has documented evidence of these internal wranglings and factionalism within the major parties, and historically this is also present in our history. Remember that the CPP broke away from the UGCC, and even within the Buzia, Dankwa, Dambo party history, you have all these factionalism and breakaways and internal struggles and competition between the political class. Also within the NDC, you have similar internal struggles and factionalism. So it's always something that is present or inherent to politics and party politics. So if you say whether I think it was inevitable, I think situated in the broader context of the history of party politics and politics in general, this is always something to be expected in any political system or in any democratic system. And also, particularly in our system of what political scientists describe as distributive politics. Somebody even described it as stomach politics, where these wranglings and factionalisms are based on the struggle to possess the state and its resources, to distribute largesse, to clans and supporters, cronies, and all that. So in our case, even though these factionalisms and internal wranglings that I've talked about may be a characteristic of most party systems across the world, in the specific case of Africa, these are usually not about ideology or the program of a political party and how some political classes differ in their ways of, in their ideologies or their programs of development for the country in general. Mostly this is normally about who gets to win and then take over the state to distribute wealth to their clients and cronies. So that makes this factionalism and internal struggles more of something that has to do with personal gain and not about the public good, or in the case of party politics, not about a party having a program that has to do with improving the well-being of the people who are the real owners of power, or who, in the case of Ghana, the sovereignty of the state rests on. So, I mean, this is what I can say about what is happening. Alan Kyerematen becoming an independent candidate and the grievances that he provided and the implications must be situated in this broader context.
And specifically to the analysis you did about how party politics in Ghana works, does Alan Kyerematen, listening to him and the issues he raised about his party and the party not being what it was when he joined and everything, does it fit within the context of what people, you say some people simplify as perhaps stomach politics?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, as a person, he looks like a gentleman and a good person. But he mentioned the fact that a few people have hijacked the party, certain political power blocks within the party have hijacked it. And we are talking of the MPP party of today, right? And if you look at what is happening and the policies and the record of this present NPP party under this president, it's totally a different party from the Kufuor's NPP party and governance, because corruption, and we can go over and over to mention all kinds of scandals, including the present one in which the special prosecutor is investigating, where a minister has millions of Ghana cedis and dollars in her house and all that. The Accountant General report, Auditor General's report of massive corruption, including the COVID-19 funds that have been misapplied and all that. So if you look at even within the party, people are grumbling about this massive corruption. So if you take it as the backdrop, the bad governance that we are witnessing, that has led to the recent demonstration over the weekend, the Jolo B House demonstration, and the way the youth came out complaining about, various serious issues of misgovernance and corruption in the country while the youth are suffering. Then you have a central figure like Alan Kyerematen coming out to say because of the hijacking of the party by special interest groups within the party, and for that matter, he's resigning to form a movement. Then clearly they are linked to the stomach politics and the distribution of goodies and largesse and competition between factions within the party for all these largesse, and for that matter, leading to some not being satisfied. And for that matter, they are beginning to think that they are better off forming their own movements to contest. I wouldn't disassociate it from the stomach politics that people talk about in African politics. The distributory nature of our politics, where people just come, are struggling, the elites are struggling to possess the state and distribute the resources of the state to their cronies and favorites. And we have witnessed this throughout the history of Ghana, and this cuts across the major parties, even though some, in terms of magnitude, and you can give some parties or even governments of the same party you can cut a slack for some leaders. So you don't compare the corruption and misgovernance of President Kufuor to this present system, where they have taken corruption and misgovernance to a different level. So in that sense, the broader context of distributive politics in Ghana and Africa in general will be what is shaping this breakaway and a movement by Alan Kyerematen. Whether he will, if he gets to win power, he will leave Abef, or he'll be able to govern differently and not be repeat the same stomach politics in Ghana. It's a different. It's something we have to wait and see because he has a long journey to go before he can even think of winning power. So yeah, I would say all these things are connected to stomach politics. They are connected to the politics of distribution that political scientists have talked about in Ghana and Africa in general.
But does he have a genuine cause for concern? Because he's talking about the fact that political parties, basically, one of the things you do is to create a platform for free, fair, competitive elections internally. And he does not see this because he's put himself up to contest by seeing a different kind of MPP, which was different from the MPP that allowed for free, fair contest internally. Does he have a genuine cause for concern based on your own observation of what is happening within the MPP currently?
Yeah, so if you look at our politics in general and the influence of money, the influence of incumbency advantage, generally are issues that if you are competing with other opponents, all these things come in strongly to inform who has advantage in a particular competition. So if you look at the way in which the establishment of the party are all is all in support of the vice president and the resources at his disposal and the violence, especially Alan Kyerematen had a case in which his his supporters have experienced some form of violence, and the way in which certain rules for the elections were flagrantly disobeyed, or the infractions on them very blatantly. Nothing was done, no attempt to take action against the people involved. Then there are, you cannot fault him for making these allegations because there's a sense in which they are well founded. And all these things, if you then begin to look at these things in the broader context of the upcoming elections that they are going to have, I think, on 4th November, and what might transpire, whether you are going to witness the same blatant infractions on their own electoral rules, which are aimed at providing credibility, free and fair contest between the opponents, whether we are going to see similar breaches without any punishment. And then even begin to think of what will happen in 2024, because that is what all these processes are leading to. They will culminate in the election of a president and members of parliament in 2024. So that will be something of the holy grail that everybody, all political parties are aiming to take hold of. So, I mean, we have to be very worried, and especially be worried that there's likelihood that either their own internal elections on 4th November might provoke issues of, violence, may provoke further and more allegations of the elections being rigged to favor a particular candidate. And then taking it further, we have to be worried that the 2024 elections are going to be characterized by these infractions, especially when you have an electoral commission that is behaving like it is law unto itself. Its credibility completely in tatters because of certain appointments made and certain pronouncements made by the commissioner and her lieutenants. It looks like the hitherto model of democracy that Ghana is known for is beginning to rest on shaky ground, and we have to be worried.
Well, having said that, he is out of the party. He's announced his candidature as an independent candidate. From our own history, and from even the short time I have worked as a journalist, independent candidates don't tend to fare well in Ghana's elections. Neither do breakaway parties have the kind of impact that they anticipate they will have when they take those decisions. Would Alan Kyerematen's case be different?
You are right in situating it in that historical context and the performance of minor parties and independent candidates in the elections that we have witnessed. You see that they haven't really been of any big impact in terms of breaking the de facto two-party system that we have, where either the NDC or the MPP wins power and rotates power between themselves. So in that sense, this will be another minor party or independent candidate who will will not have any significant impact on the de facto two-party system that has been established in Ghana. And for that matter, his ambition to win as an independent party might be a pipe dream, or might just be, an ambition that he's nursing. But the history shows that he's not going to win these 2024 elections. That having been said, we also have to bear in mind that elections in Ghana are very, very competitive, and there are instances where a party has won the presidency with less than or about 1% more than the opponent. So, which means that these minor parties, and again, my colleague at KNUST, Bob Miller, has written about this. These minor parties, they have some clout or influence, especially when it goes to a runoff, because when they throw their support, behind a particular one of the major parties, that party is likely to have the momentum and then go into the runoff and might probably win the elections. So I'm sure the MPP is very much aware of this, the significance of Alan's independent candidature in the elections. They stand to lose a lot because, mind you, he has been around. He has been an influential member of the party, contested the present president, the incumbent president, a number of times, and actually, in some cases, had to withdraw for him to be declared the presidential candidate of the party. So he's not somebody that you can just easily dismiss as the party communicators are beginning to do. I mean, they are definitely just trying to, put a strong, behave like they are bold, and for that matter, they are, they are together. The party is together, and they are. You have this hashtag, we are MPP, and all that. This is just in itself. These things, these forms of communication already indicate that they are really shaken by his action. Not that they are thinking that this is not going to affect them. This will really affect them, especially coming from their stronghold. It's going to chip away some votes. I mean, and maybe a big chunk of it. And considering that the votes that one needs to win, or votes that both parties have used to win presidential elections, sometimes are very, very small compared to the votes of their opponent they won over. This is really it's a big deal. And I'm sure these are some of the morbid symptoms of the MPP in crisis. I mean, the party seems to be in turmoil at the moment, and they are yet to even do their parliamentary candidates elections. So there's going to be more and more, issues with this party. And considering that their own independent party in parliament, they didn't give him any chance, and he ended up being their savior in parliament. So they are definitely worried about Alan Kyerematen's move. And even though they are trying to behave as if it is not affecting the unity of the party, I am sure this is not good for them going into the 2024 elections.
In fact, I wanted to read a message to you because you were saying that the MPP stands to lose the most. This is Wafata, who is watching us. Says 2024 elections will be a repetition of 1979 election. I guess you know that election quite better than me, and perhaps you have done a lot more reading into that election than I have done. Do you see any semblance of that?
I think when you're talking about the 1979 election, maybe we're talking about the fact that there were also fractions, the UNC and the PSP were from the Dankwa Buzia, now the MPP party. So the fact that those parties shared votes probably gave the PNC an advantage and probably led to the PNC winning the elections at the time. So I guess that is what the viewer is pointing to. So I don't think Alan Kyerematen as an independent party, candidate, will have the influence of the PSP and UNC. The factionalism that characterized that election. But there are striking, resemblances and similarities in the sense that this is a crack in the party with a presidential candidate contestant breaking to contest as an independent presidential candidate. That is that's a serious problem for the party, and I'm sure they are struggling to deal with it. But I wouldn't be able to probably focus or make analysis relating to the impact on the fortunes of the party relative to the 1979 elections with the UNC and PFP sharing votes, and then as a result of that, the Liman's party or the Nkrumah's party won the elections. But there are similarities, and I'm sure the viewer or the listener is making a very important historical analysis of what this might mean for the NPP going into the 2024 elections.
Well, Prof, we'll be listening out for what the party will say today in response. They've promised to address a press conference on this, and we'll have a further conversation tomorrow. But thank you for speaking to us this morning.
Okay, thank you, Senna, and my regards to your team. You are doing a very good job.
Thank you. Professor Jasper Abembia is Associate Professor of Political Science, University of Development Studies, joining us. 2 messages, then I'll take a break. The first one is Jose. You, Alan, you're holding a knife that has killed many. You wiggle a blanket in front of it and say we should call it a paper knife.